Welcome everyone to my Chapter 14 Privileged Deviance slideshow. I am Marina Stepanyan. Privileged deviation is an extremely ludicrous and is most common among the privileged and relatively wealthy and influenced. The economic deviant is a reputable high-status individual. For example, corporate exclusives or managers. White-collar deviants and government deviants are two types of privileged deviants. I'll summarize the sociology concept of white-collar deviants, corporate and occupational deviance traits, and the uniqueness and explanation of white-collar deviance. I also discuss many aspects of government deviance as well as its causes. White-collar crimes is distinguished by two characteristics: its occupational connection occurring during the course of the offender's employment, and the occupation involved white-collar deviance rather than blue-collar. Technicalities separate white-collar crimes from blue-collar crimes, and they often have to do with how the act is carried out to evade detection, prosecution, or conviction. White-collar criminals are most likely to conduct an infraction with competence, intelligence, or most likely the resource of power, influence, and respectability. A blue-collar deviant is likely to commit the same sort of crime as a white-collar deviant, since they do not have the same level of privilege, access, or opportunity of the same types of crimes. Other branch of white-collar divination is corporate divination. Corporate deviance is a subset of white-collar deviance and occurs in films and is perpetrated by exclusive for the advantage of their company as well as their own personal gain. Employee deviance, consumer deviance, government deviance, and environmental deviance are the basic forms of deviance. Deviance against employees. For a long time, it was assumed that businesses would safeguard their employees from recognized workplaces, dangers, or hazards. This expectation did not become law until the 1970s, when OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administrator, was established to enforce these safeguards. Customer deviance. Dangerous meals. The food businesses make more money selling chemically changed or tainted food. Meat packing firms sometimes sell their products without first ensuring that they're safe to eat. This is why experts fully recommend fully cooking your meat. The food business is notorious for selling chemically changed goods like the sodium nitrates and nitrates to keep red meats appearing fresh, despite the fact that these chemicals are suspected to cause cancer and other ailments. Products are dangerous. Profit is also a primary motivation for selling hazardous things that have been scientifically established to cause harm, such as drugs or tobacco. The tobacco industry has known for a long time that smoke causes cancer and addiction, yet it hasn't prevented from selling cigarettes. The drug maker is well known for dispensing information regarding new treatments that are harmful to the general population. The FDA's Food and Medication Administration drugs regulation is perplexing in that it leaves up to pharmaceutical corporations to self-report adverse effects of pharmaceutical reports by customers. Pharmaceutical companies, of course, will not publish bad and occupational fatal side effects, since it would reduce the risk on their medicine and may not be profitable. Yes, they are willing to put their lives on the line. Frauds. Frauds in the bank's business are significantly money spinners. It is in the part they lack regulation oversight. Let's take a look at three different forms of these scams. Illegal non-banking activities, participating in risky actions in violation of bank legalization, collective embezzlement, stealing deposits money by owning a savings or loan institution. They're even saying that the greater way to rob banks is to own one. Distinguishing. Manipulating documents in order to make organization appear normal or financially sound. The breakthrough of regulation monitoring that had held these businesses in check for decades was key to cause all of these forms of scams. The repeal by Congress of bank regulations that allowed banks to use loopholes and indigenize financial structure to line the walls. Large institutions and people produced the 2008 banking crisis, which triggered a resurrection and was the greatest economic calamity since the Great Depression. Because there was no single government institution or agency that collects information or statistics on the sort of fraud calculated, its extent is impossible. Because state regulation is left up to the states, government control, the woeful indicates the most prevalent insurance fraud involves the bogus assets and small company scams. In a bogus asset plan, a corporation lies about its assets to demonstrate that it has requested quantities. In a small business scam, a company runs a multiple employer welfare arrangement in which multiple small businesses pool their funds to guarantee health care for their employees, and one simply taking the funds from the employees until they're unable to pay any more claim. Another type of insurance fraud occurs when the insurance broker keeps the premium for themselves and never transfers them to the firm, or when insurers set up a fictitious company to take money retrieved against insurance firms are also widespread in the healthcare industry. According to the conservatives' estimate, medical institutions such as chiropractors defraud insurance companies of $10 billion each year by claiming they have done service that was not really delivered or conduct treatment on their patients that were not necessary. Antitrust violations. Companies are prohibited from collaborating to limit or eliminate competitions under antitrust laws. Prices will rise when there is no competition for a specific service or product, since the consumer would have no choice but to pay their time and service. Companies selling similar items generally band together to establish excessively high pricings, result in massive profit in order to break antitrust regulations. The infant formula industry is one example of antitrust violations. 3 formula corporators that dominate the infant formula sectors conspire to shut out other rivals, according to these allegations. Deviance against the government. Tax evasion accounts for the bulk infraction against the government. Large, powerful businesses take use of tax invectives, loopholes, and laws to avoid paying taxes, facilitating these deviations. This is not unlawful to take advantage of tax loopholes. 90% of all firms in the U.S. do not pay corporate taxes. A firm that can avoid paying taxes by forming multinational businesses in the nations with low corporate tax rates, making it look like revenue were earned elsewhere and therefore avoiding U.S. tax rates. Lobbyism spends millions of dollars on political campaign donations in the hopes of influencing legislation to benefit commercial interests. Deviance against environment is a term used to describe behavior that is harmful due to the enormous expense in implementing safer means of disposing chemical waste. Most firms choose to dump potentially damaging rubbish into the land, air, and water, as well as to refuse to clean up their waste or take culpability after it's harmed people and the environment. Environmental pollution affects us all and may be found almost everywhere, but studies have shown that it's more concentrated disadvantage in minor communities. The Comprehensive Environment Response and Liability Acts are often known as the Superfund program that was created by Congress in 1980 to clean up the worst uncontrollable hazardous waste sites. Although the EPA was initially fairly liberal with pollutant firms. However, beginning in the late 1980s, the EPA began actively prosecuting significant polluters. We've witnessed the most sweeping EPA rollback in decades, placing previous protected areas in the hands of huge environmental polluters and businesses who can get away with causing lasting damage to the environmental and local people. Corporate crooks and social profiles. There is a lengthy list of corporate CEOs who have been accused of engaging in illicit business practices. I will identify a few from the book in no particular order. The one who deserves to be on the list of disgrace. Tyco CEO Dennis Kolosowski was charged with the convicted of theft of money. Dennis took advantage of the firm's pay for 30 million luxury residents and 81 million in unlawful incidents. John Rigas, the founder of Adelphia, a cable television business, had his two sons cheated investors out of more than 250 million by taking out 2.3 billion in secret corporate loans. Bernie Madoff, who managed an investment management business with customers all over the world, was accused with conducting a Ponzi scam that resulted in 27 billion in losses for his investors, with a large number of them losing their life savings. Martin Shkreli purchased the rights to an extremely cost pharmaceutical pill is required to some AIDS patients, pregnant women, and newborns, that hiked up the price from $13.50 to an outrageous $750 for no other reason than he could. The legal methods of moving their business's headquarters to other countries and insulting them from paying U.S. taxes were major reasons of these crooks were able to practically get away with their frauds. Excessive comprehension for executives. Rewarding executives for lower corporate expenses, even if it means terminating a large number of employees. Putting insiders and cronies onto the board of directors. Occupational deviances. Employees who steal from the firm in which they work at prevail and costly occurrences. At least once, 75% of employees admit to stealing from their boss. Every year, over 1,000 firms fail as a result of employees' theft. The remaining businesses just pass the expenses of their employees' theft to the customer. In most parts of the globe, retail stealing is considered a bigger problem than employee theft, but this is not the case for the U.S., at least for these three reasons. Employees have little allegiance to the larger organizations from which they work, resulting to a sensation of stealing from no one. A history of labor management conflict breed animosity and sentiment of exploitation towards the organizations, providing a motivation for employees to steal. Employees will take advantage of boredom or a need of excitement on the workplace. When people are dissatisfied with their job, they are most likely to do things like come in late, leave early, take extra long lunch breaks, or call in sick without actually being unwell. Embezzlement. Employee theft as it involved in stealing money is known as embezzlement. As opposite to employee theft that involves stealing things, a majority of embezzlement as well-paid married white men in their 30s with one or two children who live in a good area will have manageable jobs. Because embezzlement are hardworking, honest individuals, there is a significant incident of crimes in youth sport groups, which raise the question of why people commit embezzlement. Embezzlers, according to sociologist Donald Creasy, go through the three-phase social psychological process. They suffer through the financial difficulty. They find embarrassed to disclose with others the trust circle who might have been assist them. Embezzlers find a chance to handle their financial problems in a secret organization. In the second phase, which is generally entailed taking advantage of their entrusted position inside the organization where they're regarded in high respect. 3. The most essential element is explaining their theft by characterizing it as a loan with the intention of repaying money at a later date. This line of reasoning is what led to accusation of crimes. Financial fraud. The most common kind of financial fraud is failing to pay income taxes. Tax evasion is more widespread among middle and upper income earners, particularly business people and attorneys. People in these income groups can frequently afford high sophisticated tax accounts or attorneys to help them advantage of tax loopholes to assist in financial fraud. Insider trading is another type of financial fraud. Insider trading is extremely profitable because it involves a company insider, such as the company's owner or an executive, buying or selling stock based on the confidential information not available to the general public, such as advanced knowledge of the product or unanticipated profits, because the stock prices will rise significantly after the information is released. Deviance in professions. Although there are many types of deviance and occupations that qualify as deviant, our textbook concentrates on 3 of them. Medical misconduct may include practices known as fee spilling, in which the doctor gets bribe from another doctor in exchange for referring patients. Unnecessary procedures that are performed solely to receive compensation for treatment. Physical therapists who sexually exploit female patients are engaging in sexual exploitation. In the medical industry, there are practices little monitoring to punish fraud. Lawyerly lawlessness. An author who analyzes in legitimacy of lawyers' charges discovered that 90% of the time lawyers overcharge. Lawyers are motivated to take advantage of wealthy clients by prolonging or dragging out matters in the court in order to continue to charge them. Lawyers, on the other hand, exploit poor clients who persecuted them to plead guilty, so they reduce the time of trial and increase the number of clients on their book. Accounting abuse. Tax prepared may engage in form of deputation is misrepresenting their customers' income or education in order to assist them in paying fewer taxes. What makes white-collar deviance? The white-collar deviance respectable self-image. White-collar deviance perceives themselves as respectable individuals rather than criminals, which helps them separate themselves from the crimes that they have perpetrated. What causes a white-collar deviance? Fear of loss and hunger for gain are 2 examples of deviance motivation. Fear of losing a job or losing one's house has been reported to motivate white-collar criminals. Furthermore, greed is the driving force between capitalism, encouraging individuals to become wealthy in order to gain material good and power. Government deviance. Getting kickback from business. The federal government abusing public funds management. Denial of voting rights. The Electoral College, rather than the public vote, is used to elect presidents of the United States. When Americans vote, they actually electing a slate of electors chosen by their state political parties and promise to support their candidate's party. From official violations. From the slavery of Africans to the extermination and expulsion of Native Americans, the United States has a long history of violence against the residential and culmination in the present national focus on the police brutalities against Black people and immigrant minorities in metropolitan cities. In recent years, the most visible form of official violation has been police brutalities in metropolitan cities, which had disrespected properties. False. Defenders of law and order claim that police officers are simply protecting themselves from dangerous, lawless criminals, or that there were only few bad apples within the police department. But when they look closely, which requires the digging due at the fact that local government nor federal government keep track of their civilians killed by the police, it becomes clear that these claims were fake. Official ways to neutralize deviance. 1. Deny the obvious. 2. Ignore the deviance. 3. Accuse the accuser. 4. Promise to take action. 5. Justifying the deviance. 6. Other methods of neutralization. Other methods of neutralization government officials are used much different than everyday criminals will use to justify their crimes. Causes of government deviance. Thank you.